So in the last video that we did, I talked about one of the employees on my team and how he was a source of frustration, maybe a little bit for me, but primarily for my manager because he didn't have the concept, I don't want to say of initiative, but when you're asked to gather information and you're unsure, you don't know the information, you haven't figured it out yet, or you haven't gotten it yet, that you don't just end the conversation there, right? And was the main crux of that video, was that you get that information, you go, hold on, I'll go get it. Now, what I mentioned in that video was that I, as the manager for this team, provided that feedback to him that, look, dude, she's asking you for this information. She needs this information because it may affect one of her other teams. And you're just kind of going, I don't know, and then not going any further. You need to continue to get that information. Tell her, give you 10 minutes, go get the information, come back, everybody's happy. And this was a source of frustration for my manager. And I mentioned that he is now on a different team, she's much happier, etc. But I want to talk about that for a second, because it's a very dangerous position to put yourself in, to be in, where whether it be in World of Warcraft, raiding a guild leader, a raid leader, something like that, or in a real life situation where you're a team lead, manager, project lead, whatever. If you're in a leadership position, to be consistently unhappy with an employee, with a team member, with a raider, and or wanting and being exhilarated and happy and content with them leaving the team. And this is a position that I was thrust into when this inventory management guy moved to a different team, was that my manager was happy about that she was happy with the idea that this guy, that her problems were solved because he was moving to a different team. And this is a very dangerous position to be in because of two, at least right now, off the top of my head, two very important reasons. First and foremost, and I've talked about this when we did our leadership traits and leadership principles and whatnot, that when you have to engage with and counsel one of your team members, one of your employees, one of your raiders, they've pissed you off, right? They stood in fire. They should know better. They were late with that report. They didn't get the job done. You're pissed off. And you go to them and you go, look, you have failed me in the task that I gave you. Whether it be, you didn't do this mechanic properly. You didn't get this report turned in. You failed me. It needs to be fixed. Now, obviously, the most drastic end of this is we drop you from the raid team. We drop you for the night. You get fired, etc., etc. But we're not there yet. You failed me. You're pissed off. You're angry. They know it. You know it. Everybody else knows it. However, I've mentioned this before, that once you've counseled them and you go, look, you failed in this mechanic. You need to fix it. Your DPS is low. Your healing is low. You didn't get this report turned in. You didn't finish the job. You screwed up. That's when the anger, that's when the animosity, that's when the frustration, the hate, the whatever that you're feeling is dropped. That you cannot, as a leader, whether it be in World of Warcraft, whether it be in real life, whether it's both in my case, and hopefully some of y'all's cases, you can't hold on to that. You can't go, well, 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, last week, he failed in this mechanic, so I'm going to hold on to that, and I'm going to get my revenge and, get retribution on this guy because he failed to this mechanic. That doesn't help anybody. Because what if this guy, this raider, is making or trying to make significant improvements? Maybe they didn't understand something. They took the time out, during the weekend or off nights, and they watched some videos. They read through the dungeon journal. They asked in forums or on whatever Discord channel they're in, and they had something explained to them, or they fixed an issue. They realized whatever, right? They have made steps to improve their situation. How can you hold on to, whatever feelings, whatever negative feelings you are feeling when they are actively, truly trying to fix the issue? And it may not be perfect. It may go from a raider that stands in fire on this one mechanic every single time. You pull them aside and you go, look, man, you're standing in fire, you're dying, blah, blah, blah. And then next week they stand in fire half the time. And you can see that there is a decrease in the amount of times. And I have a prime example of this. I have one of my raiders who pretty consistently and I can't think of the ability on Talic, the red blood pools, whatever. He was really bad about standing in it. I mean, we're talking a very large number when I went through the logs where he was standing in it. And I called him out on it. I said, look, dude, you got to stop this shit. You're going for the high score over here. You're getting more than the tanks. You're just not executing this mechanic properly. And then the next week, his numbers were high, but they weren't as high as the week before. And I called him out again. I said, look, you're making some improvement, but you're still high. Keep working on it. And the tone changed. It went from you're failing to you're failing, but I can see that you're making progress. And the next week, the numbers were reasonable. And I said, you're on the right track. You're doing good. Try to get it down a little bit lower. The next week, he barely got any of them. Great job. Called him out the other way. You did a great job. Thank you. You've worked on it. I appreciate it, etc. I can't hold on to that and go, look, that first week you failed, you fucked up. I hate you. You're never getting a raid spotty. That doesn't do anybody any bit of good. You got to drop that hatred, that negative feeling, because maybe they are trying to improve. Now, if they're not improving, if they're still failing to meet your expectations, in real life, in World of Warcraft, or whatever other game you're playing, hey, keep the pressure on them. But you got to drop it then and there and move on until the next time that they fail. Okay? Now, the second issue that I have is being a leader when you're in a leadership position is never one of giving up on someone. And that, I feel, is where my manager failed. She failed in that regard because she had a lot of problems with this guy. And don't get me wrong, he had a lot of problems. There were a lot of things that he did. There were mindsets, there were, ideas in his head that were wrong, that were not aligned with the way that I run my team, that she wanted me to run my team, and how she runs the other teams around. But they didn't align. And she gave up on him. She said, the dings against him, the issues that we have are so great that I'm happy when he is gone, because that is the end of my troubles, that I don't have to worry about this guy. And that's not the way it works, guys. Like, if the issues are so great that they are a detriment to your raid team, to your guild, to your team, to your, project, get rid of them, fire them, whatever. But when you continue to keep them on, you have to realize that means that you are making a pledge as a leader. I don't care what position you're in, whether you are in a management position or not, as a leader. And there are, that's a video for another day. There are differences between a manager and a leader, but you are making that commitment to, I'm going to continue to work with that person. I'm going to continue to counsel them and, build them and mold them into the employee, raider, whatever that I want them to be. And that is where she failed this young man. Was she said, he's leaving the team, or I want him, out, and once he's out, I'll be happy. And that's where she dropped it. So what I'm telling you guys here is this. You have to continuously mold, shape, and work with your people. And when they fail you, and you counsel them, and you work with them, and you put them on, hopefully, the path to success, you cannot hold on to that frustration and anger and animosity. That you have to do both of these things. Hopefully, with that being said, you guys like what I'm saying here. If you do, you guys know what to do. If you don't, let me know what to do in the in the comments section down below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you.